Okay, folks, yeah, welcome on yet another KGB open project meeting. So let me actually go and write this down, like the action item to get us to our event to official CNCF calendars, meeting calendar. Okay, cool. So yeah, I see. Yeah, we updated the agenda. Thank you for that. So today, yeah, we're going to discuss the upcoming sandbox review. If not mistaken, it's like 21st of June. The like movements towards this official, kind of official support, like from KGB for Azure, like at least like some kind of like it's running seal of approval. Also, there's question: should we apply for KGB talks on smaller conferences like Kubernetes Days?
Yeah, it came from me. So like I had a like a post KubeCon pings from multiple folks, like reconnecting, and one of the dudes said like I will be on Kubernetes days in Berlin and containers days somewhere else. So yeah, I realized for myself like I totally not following these kind of smaller conferences apart from KubeCon, and they are like quite active. So if anybody in this group have time to participate in the, like maybe willing to present, that would be amazing. I don't have any capacity for that, but overall it sounds like a pretty nice opportunity.
Yeah, but thanks for idea. Yeah, I guess guys from Giant Swarm, Kubematic, yeah. They also like told me about that as well. So yeah,
it's already closed, right? The call for paper is already.
I think it's already closed. But I found there's a calendar of actually KubeCon, like Kubernetes community events, like in different countries, so we can kind of monitor for that. Not sure if there's an option for online, but I think it actually spreads across like different like local like meetups as well, right? I mean, there are like some of them are happening around. Like recently, there were DevOps days in Prague, for example.
By the way, did you attend? I'm pretty sure I had a ticket, but I wasn't in Prague anyway.
Yeah, I couldn't because it was actually intersecting with KubeCon this day.
Was it really?
Yeah,
that's pretty unfortunate.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So yeah, I even got the message from one of our organizers whether I'm like joining or not, but yeah, we didn't. And yeah, I think it makes sense to kind of build a local radar because there are opportunities as well to speak. And actually, the acceptance bar, I think, will be lower. Doesn't mean that, I mean, we can like present with lower quality, right, or something like, but yeah, I think it's, we should definitely.
There's also the Czechoslovak CNCF community. They had a conference in June, I think.
There are cloud events, I think cloud meetups. Yeah, and I've seen like even like there are some meetups in Brno as well. So yeah, a bunch of opportunities. And
yeah, I'm
Germany,
pretty sure for
quite close.
Yeah, I would attend Berlin one if I would be aware upfront. It's like a minimum travel and effort. Plus, from like a small conferences to get like a project of a K8GB sandbox is like probably a very high chance of acceptance of the talk.
Exactly.
So
and also like on demonstration point of view, it's really easy to spin up the, like we already kind of pros on that, I feel. Yeah, on cluster IDs, yeah, there's one link. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to watch it.
Yeah, I just added it a couple of minutes before the call. I can show you the like once there is time for it, it takes like 5 minutes. It's very easy to pick and it can help us.
Cool. So, and like on action items, so I added one. So another two, yeah, I'll be honest, like I did. So actually I moved, like this is what I had like time for. I moved the like zombie tickets on 0.9 milestone to 1.0, 0.10 actually, sorry. I think most of them are actually either like in progress or like not kind of finished already with previous releases, so it's okay. But yeah, we need to do some substantial work. Unfortunately, I'm getting less and less time in my job that brings me money. So yeah, I guess we all do. So yeah, no excuses. And yeah, so for sandbox review, I don't think like we did some official communication on that level in mailing lists and so on, but I guess so we can check maybe if it's kind of required. I just seen like recently in my email there are communications like, hey, we did it, this is PR, so maybe we can do this, but we already created PR and yeah, I'm not sure. I guess our participation, yeah, is required, right? So we can answer some questions.
It will be most probably like sandbox acceptance style thing. So TOC is gathering and going through the list and they're discussing the project. That's most probably will be like for review as well. So no direct participation. But I don't remember if I was watching the sandboxing recording or like passively attending. I think it was a recording. It was Amy. Yeah, now I recall. Amy posted a link like here, like a recording for TOC regular meeting, which happened yesterday. And yeah, I rewinded to the KGB part, and yeah, it was there. So
yeah, I guess
something
that
similar
will
should
be
happen for review.
set of sandbox project like
Exactly.
review it. So yeah, my question was like, do we need to participate there? I guess we can always check with Amy. I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But looks like we should not actively participate in a specific meeting here.
Yeah, I think we already kind of already provided all necessary data. And okay, cool. So regarding support for Azure, so yeah, I see that like recently there's a kind of interest like regarding this, right? And I remember you mentioned that actually like Nuno was like having like some like big work around that. So and we should expect some participation from them, like an upstream decent forms of documentation, right, and maybe some PRs if something went wrong. Yeah, I was like thinking about how to say, yeah, for me it will be a really interesting case to know like how it works with private DNS, right? Beg pardon. Yeah, and because I got documentation that says like NS records can be created, so I wonder if there was some workarounds there. So it would be really good to probably meet him, maybe next KGB session. And there's actually another person. Let me which recently expressed the interest and also checking how it works by Sebastian. So he's actually cloud. It seems like he's a cloud architect and engineer, and Microsoft customer architecture team. So maybe. So I commented in the ticket, yeah, saying, hey, we're here for support if you have any questions. Yeah, probably, yeah, we can also sort out, I hope, like our issues with access, right? So for me, my free account is already depleted for Azure, so I mean we can effectively prove that it works. And I think it might make sense similar way as for other providers in like DNS providers to maybe build some kind of like a page with like table, so we can actually mark for support that hey, we are supported there. Like think about external DNS, right, and providers, and in which phase they are. Is it like alpha, beta? Is it like by us, or is it like community? So we can kind of put officially our stamp of approval, and it will be easier to how to say cooperate and like integrate, and we might kind of involve more like community from like provider side, or like those who have access to the cloud, right? Because it requires some accounts there, so we can motivate it like, hey, we're running with, I don't know, with AWS, Azure, GCP. How about you guys? Things like this. It's just an idea. So I don't know what's your opinion on that.
Before we create a kind of support matrix or something similar of alpha or beta, we need to properly define what alpha and beta levels actually mean. We have a lot of documentation around it and Upbound for obvious reason, what like V1 alpha 2 level for resource means, what V1 beta 1, etc. So like it's something to actually form for ourselves as maintainers to understand what we want to put in which bucket, and then create the support matrix out of it. Obviously, like supporting with the documentation of what each maturity level
exactly means. with exact references, and if there are issues, like exactly references to documentation. On alpha beta, I'm not sure, right? It might be we don't need that kind of separation on like at first time. We can think through this and divide like later. I wouldn't probably complicate it that much. I just given it as example.
Well, in KGB case is actually interesting because we have a interface of beta 1 pretty stable, right? CRD doesn't change.
Right.
Almost like it's stable for a real while already, but we have underlying things that are changing, so, and interfacing. So like this transitive stability is something not super obvious to reason about in the standard Kubernetes terms, right? So it's something to add on.
Okay, clear. So I guess we already discussed the topic of the like our presence in smaller conferences, and the SurveyMonkey. I guess this is brought by you.
If you mean me, yes. So
okay.
There was an email from Amy that they waiting our feedback as dudes from K8GB project, and the deadline is like 21st or something. So it's a standard maintainers survey. They run it every year. So each of us, I guess, can provide feedback on
Okay,
like CSF level support and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken,
the deadline was
April
20.
April 20. But okay.
Okay.
But in the email it was like some June, like they postponing or something. So yeah, we definitely missed the first deadline apparently.
Okay, yeah, I think it makes sense. If we have some questions or doubts, it's the right time to do that. Yeah, and it will only benefit for our project, I believe. So yeah, if we have time to go through this cluster ID thing, Izzy, can you please like briefly tell us about that? What is it? And
I would share my screen if you allow it, because it says host disabled.
well, once again,
yeah. Meanwhile, I'll start a cluster.
Disciplines. Yeah, let's.
Yeah, now it works. So should
Cool.
be sharing right now, and just a minute. Oh, stop. Sorry. It's really simple standard, just one CRD they provide, and it's about cluster identity. There is it's coming from SIG multi-cluster, and switch the context. This one. So they've introduced that cluster properties CRD, and if I get all of these, it's pretty simple because it has just a name and value. So it's really, really simple. But the idea is that you will, so yeah, it's like just in the spec, you have a value and that's it. But the idea is that they will codify the common names of those CRDs. So for instance, this id.kas.io is like reserved name of this particular custom resource, and it should identify the cluster identity. So this way, all the nodes will see the same value because it's a cluster-wide CRD, right? And so far, they've got only two reserved value. This is the one, so this is the identity of the cluster. And the other one is the membership of something called cluster set. So they have concept of cluster sets and cluster identity. And it can be helpful for us because this cluster identity corresponds in a way with hosted zone, the ID. And this cluster group or cluster set, sorry, the cluster set corresponds with hosted zone, and this cluster ID corresponds with geotech in our case. But this is, and the value, there are no restrictions for the value. In this case, they use UID, but it can be anything longer than one character. So even to this EU or CZ can work in here. And also they don't restrict, so there are only two reserved names of these custom resources. This is the one, and the other one is in a video. I forgot it, but you can provide more of those. So we can put anything in this cluster properties CR that can have that we can use in K8GB. So my idea was to basically, if there is such a custom resource in the cluster defined, and this custom resource with the name is existing, we can read it and use it for hosted zone. And if we do that, it would mean less configuration for K8GB. It's similar to this approach where when we would read those nodes, labels from nodes, but this is actually even better because those nodes don't have to be the same, right? We can silently assume that those labels will be the same on each node, but you can have Kubernetes clusters spanning multiple availability zones and whatnot, in which case it wouldn't work. So this is conceptually closer to what we want actually.
Yeah, I remember we exactly, and I know that we have one PR which kind of stays on like an uncertain area, right? Exactly, because we bumped into that issue with the availability zones and how in that case safely determine the derive the infer the cluster name or like geotag out of that. But yeah, this is like really cool because we can like potentially use it to exactly to mark to geotag clusters, and so that we, especially it will work out for GitOps environments where you have to to know this kind of stuff right when you deploy the let's say KGB, and so it should sit already.
This is the other one.
Cluster.
The cluster set.ks.
Okay, and just a question here. So, is this a kind of a ready feature in some version of Kubernetes, or
no? It's a cup, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they've got an operator, but in fact, so there is a repository. This is a like row shortener. If you click on it, it would lead you to a GitHub repo, and they've got an operator which does nothing and only defines the CRDs, which is kind of silly, but that's what they do. And their idea, I was talking with them on Slack, is that in the future this operator could be filling those IDs based on some criteria that I don't know, like if cloud provider provides some annotation on nodes, they could try to derive it. I don't know, like probably make a hash from combination of nodes or whatever they do, and to like provide this ID for cluster. It's not defined yet.
So it looks like
it's a standard
polyfill for that like for the feature implementation right now. So
yeah, it's a future. It's to be decided how it would behave, but for us it's a like they create the standard, and it could be smart to depend on standard things that are creating on different groups in CNCF, which could make us more visible in the ecosystem.
Actually, I think it will be good to see how it like works right with our scenarios, which actually exactly stop that PR right in the middle and see how it works, and if not, maybe we can actually contribute there and like at least our requirements to upstream.
Yeah, I've already opened PR for them.
Yes,
very simple one.
Yes, they count that as well.
Yeah, just in case we have a history in SIG multi-cluster, it was actually first ever public presentation around KGB was in SIG multi-cluster group, where Paul Murray and Laura Lawrence, like you just shared the screen, Irji. So the people who are running SIG multi-clusters, they were there, and together with Tim Hawkins. So we actually, and then we had additional presentation which was driven by Paul Murray in our OpenShift Commons platform around KGB. So we actually like know these dudes, and if you need any connection, I can introduce. So so they know about us.
I saw the recording of the call.
Oh,
cool. So I don't know, like if we have anything else to discuss, some outstanding topics that came to your mind while we were going through the agenda. Please, there's time to do exactly that.
And just to know that in this talk, I posted the link that they had on a slide that this CubePad is being archived, so it's kind of obsolete and they don't support it in the future. This Cube Federation.
What is obsolete? Sorry.
A CubeFed.
That's
the SIG multi-cluster.
Yeah, Cube Federation.
Yeah. Wait, like, is it like CubeFed CubePad, which is first version of it, is obsoleted because
no
it was
idea.
CubePad.
No idea what it is.
That's something like to you figure out. Yeah, they went through multiple transformations, and so far none of them really clicked. But I think CubePad v2 was getting some traction in Google in GCP. I had this perception because LoRa created non-community like commercial presentations around it. So I thought they're already using it. So something like maybe CubePad is the very first is totally deprecated, but CubePad v2 is currently active. So maybe something, but something to double check. Yeah, thanks for this one.
I actually have one question. So we've been asked, like, I think on KubeCon, the different people when we were explaining what we are doing, what we are. So there were questions like about support for I think for Gateway API. Like, so what do you guys think? Is it like feasible? Like, makes sense to implement in the nearest time? Like one of the kind of big milestones. I seems like there are more and more questions coming from community about that.
Dinar, I remember you was evaluating the gateway stuff, right?
Yeah. Sure. It just we were talking about that last week. Given the number of sources increasing, we were talking about whether we need a custom resource at all. Shouldn't we work with the source objects directly and update status fields of those instead of creating a GSLB object and maintaining that, because right now the GSLB contains the ingress, and if we would need to introduce the other, I don't know, OpenShift route gateway API, which contains at least 3 resources, shouldn't we like reconsider the input format for the controller?
Yeah, it makes sense to me to rely on the standard to kind of ingress stuff, like less there is the better, but not on OpenShift routes for sure.
No, I mean drop the CRD. Not what I mean. It doesn't depend on whether this is ingress or OpenShift route or Easter gateway or name it. Just we would have to maintain that as part of our CRD.
Yeah, but with a switch to gateway, we will just be able to use a standard ingress object. Is my understanding correct? Or
no. It's
No.
orthogonal. You can either use ingress or gateway API.
So it's a new CRD.
Yes.
Okay, but a community one, so we can focus potentially on this one.
It's like more complex. You can define more advanced stuff, but it's either ingress or gateway. HTTP route and whatnot.
I see. All right.
So my point is,
so that's why they name it ingress v2. That's an old version. It's actually like iteration. Cool. Sorry, please go on.
Yeah, so my point is, if we would need to introduce another source, we will have to put it under our CRD, because one of the process, like we generate that source, like so far we generate the ingress from GSLB, and then we would generate the gateway API. So instead of doing that and maintaining CRD as part of our GSLB type, drop the GSLB type and work directly with the ingress or gateway or whatever else source that would be.
Yeah, I support this idea. It actually was proposed like in this very first meeting with Tim Hawking by Tim Hawking himself, like a how many years ago. So yeah, this idea is something to implement. Like it can be like a next step for the project and totally integrate into community direction. But I'm not sure like the current maturity of Gateway, because when we were talking in a Sigma LT cluster group, it was like something like in develop. Did it stabilize? Because I didn't follow it for a while.
Well, only a few controllers supports that, but I think over the time, Istio will come up with that. I don't know, Contour maybe.
Istio has it. Contour has it. Yeah.
Okay, Istio probably some beta or alpha.
Nginx has it.
But I mean, last time I looked at it, like 3 or 4 controllers supported it. Maybe now, like, yeah, it's broader user about, but I think it's reached the point where we should integrate it.
Sounds good. 3 or 4 already a substantial number in this context.
Yeah, and from what I see, so they support the Kubernetes starting from like generally from 1.16 plus. So they said, okay, so they said like they had like some like certain features like our protocol, they depend on like 1.18, but yeah, I guess yeah, it's like more or less everyone is there. But definitely we should think about the breaking changes, right, for the API again, and it should be, I think, tied to like major release.
Because it's not gonna be part of the Cube itself. It's like external CRD, this gateway API CRDs. It's only a standard that needs to be installed explicitly to Kubernetes, and that's their way to do it. I was on a call or presentation on KubeCon, and they said it's on a purpose. That's like they're pioneering this concept because they don't want to be bound to the release cycle of Kubernetes, which is kind of heavyweight. So they like trying the new approach for also other SIGs or other groups.
Now, what I'm saying is that if we are going to, get rid of the, let's say, GSLB, SRD, right, and use Gateway API, that means breaking changes for the community. So need to think about this. Okay, so yeah, let's probably scratch our head around the ideas and get more information about that, like on what kind of, how mature are they, and let's probably create necessary tickets around that. Good. If nothing else is left to discuss, we have like around like 5 minutes of recording, but yeah, let's call it a day in that case. And I can just say that I'm happy to see your faces again.
Likewise, man.
Same.
Okay, and yeah, so see you around in internets. And like Dinar says, have fun. Cheers.
Cheers, dudes. Bye.
See you guys. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.